welcome to the Witch's Cauldron. My name is Paula. This is the 11th video in my Wicca 101 series. Today's subject is magical ethics. In the description box, there will be homework if you want to do it. There will also be a link to the course syllabus, so if you're behind on the homework, the reading, and everything like that, the Google Doc that has the syllabus lists out the recommended reading, the reading assignments for each video, and the accompanying homework for each video. Now, in Wicca, most people are familiar with the Wiccan Rede, and specifically most are familiar with the 8 words, "and it harm none, do as ye will." Wiccans also believe in the threefold law. In other words, whatever you put out, whatever energy you put out, whatever action you take comes back on you threefold. So that is why most Wiccans do not do any kind of what is called dark or black magic. Witches have no rule like that. Power is power, and whatever happens is up to the universe as to how it manifests to bring the change that is wanted. Most Wiccans do not want to hear the fact that Satanism is very closely related to Wicca. Most people are also familiar with the fact that Gerald Gardner is credited with creating the Wiccan movement, the modern Wiccan movement, and specifically creating the Gardnerian tradition of high ceremonial magic, very structured magic and ritual. Aleister Crowley is largely credited and associated with Satanism. Satanism is very closely related to Wicca, with the fact that they do not believe in the law of 3. So, like a lot of witches, hereditary witches, whatever happens to bring about and manifest the change that they want to see. Magic in and of itself, specifically spells, are what I call prayers with props. The spells in Wicca, as I said, are crafted in a manner that you think will not harm another. Specifically, I have a problem with doing any kind of spell that would affect someone's free will. I hate love spells, specifically when you're trying to get a particular person to become interested in you, because then you're affecting your free will. If you put out a quote-unquote love spell or relationship spell that says you want to bring someone, the love of your life, into your life without being specific who that is directed to, that's perfectly fine. Most Wiccans shy away from any type of shadow magic, dark magic. They're afraid to work with a dark goddess or a warrior goddess or god. And in my opinion, it is just as important in a magical practice to have a balance. That is what Wicca is about. It's about a balance. Balance between good and light, evil and noble. So in your magical practice, if you adhere to the Wiccan rule of three, and specifically trying to craft spells and rituals that will harm none, I'm going to present you with a couple of scenarios. Money spells, prosperity spells are some of the most popular spells, and healing spells are also very, very popular. So you do a money spell and you say, you know, Lord and Lady, hear my plea, bring a bunch of money to me. Okay. If out of the blue you receive a check out of the mail, refund of some kind, that, let's say you had leftover escrow money and the bank couldn't find you, you go on to your state's found money website and you put in your name, and it pops up that there is money being held by the state in your name. You file the claim, and then the money shows up when you need it. Okay. And let's say you need it for tires for your car. You do that spell and say specifically in the law of three, a specific amount, what it's for, and that no one be harmed in manifesting this need. Okay, you would add on, Lord and Lady, hear my plea, bring a bunch of money to me. You would say, Lord and Lady, hear my plea, bring $800 to me for tires for my car, and in the process of blessing me, please harm no one and do not harm me. Without those words and without wording a spell in a manner similar to that, something like this, just the Lord and Lady, hear my plea, bring a bunch of money to me. The next day, you get a call that Great Aunt Tilly has died, and they broke out the will, and she left you a ton of money. Is that black magic? Is that dark magic? Is that gray magic? Because someone else had to die to bring you the money that you needed. Another scenario. Without the words, and bring no harm to me, you could also add in, bring no harm to me, anyone I love, etc., etc., etc. Without those words, you could become involved in a vehicle accident. The need for the tires is no longer there. Your car is totaled, and you were gravely injured in that vehicle accident. Several months later, you settle a lawsuit and get a potload of money. Now, you can see that without specificity in crafting your spells, it can have a dire consequence. Another scenario. Your child passes away. You have, or spouse passes away. Your partner passes away. And you have life insurance on them. There's your money. So specificity in your spell and ritual work is entirely necessary. Let's take that love spell. Lord and Lady, hear my plea. Make Johnny fall in love with me. In that spell, you are affecting Johnny's free will. And according to the law of three, you're harming Johnny because you're affecting his free will. In that scenario, Johnny asks you out on a date. You fall in love. He cheats. The relationship ends. It brought your love to you. It was an unrequited love because you didn't specify that you wanted the person to come into your life to love you back. Word a love spell that says, Lord and Lady, hear my plea. Bring my true love to me. Okay? The next thing you know, oh, better yet, Lord and Lady, hear my plea. Bring my soulmate to me. The next thing you know, you have a kitty cat come into your life that you have such a special bond. They become your familiar, your protector, becomes a part of your soul and completes you. There's your soulmate. Soulmates can also be a spirit that you have been connected with. That soulmate could be, if you're heterosexual, someone of the same sex. That person could be, if you're homosexual or lesbian, it could be a member of the opposite sex. Your soulmate does not equate love. Your soulmate could have been your best friend. Your soulmate could be someone that completes you, that you have an instant connection with, but it's not a love connection. Specificity is the key. I recommend writing down a checklist. You want someone who loves you back to the same level. You want someone, if you're heterosexual, a human of the opposite sex. If you're homosexual or lesbian, you want a human of the same sex. If you have certain personality traits that are important to you, let's say that they're faithful, loving, romantic, a good provider, a good partner, that they complete you as a person, make you a better person, things like that, your checklist. And if looks are important to you, make him 6'5", dark hair, blue-eyed, and built like a whatever. And bring no harm to that person. Bring no harm to you. I would also suggest that you put in the thing that they're not already married and not already in a committed relationship. Things like that. So do your checklist and then leave it up to the universe to bring the right person to you. You get where I'm going? Now, I'm going to present a scenario to you. Most people know that like white magic is usually healing magic, either for someone else, healing for the earth, healing for a pet, whatever. Let's say you have a child that needs a kidney transplant, and you ask that your child be healed from this disease, and miraculously they are. However, another sibling had to die in the process to provide the organ. Is that what you wanted? Further, let's say initially that organ transplant is successful. 6 months later, something happens and that organ is rejected. Is that what you want? Be specific. Make sure that you word your spells in a manner that will not harm anyone, and leave it up to, say, let the doctors and medical staff have the knowledge to heal and cure the disease for your child, or have someone in the family be a match that is willing to donate that kidney to your child, and that the child lives a long and healthy life, and that no harm comes to anyone else, or you, or your loved ones. Specificity is required. Here is a scenario where a lot of people would call it black magic. And it's a spell that I performed. Because in between white magic and black magic is a whole lot of gray. And it has to do with intent. So, most people would say that I performed black magic because I used and sacrificed my own blood during the ritual. This ritual I did was to protect a toddler from a heroin addicted parent. I found out that he had gone to buy drugs and loaded the baby into the car with him. And it was his habit, while his wife was at work as a nurse working the night shift, to go and get his drugs in a very rough part of town and to take the child with him. Now, I worked with the goddess Kali, who is a dark goddess, but she's also a warrior. She's a destroyer. But she's also a goddess of justice and a goddess that protects children. My spell was crafted in a manner that I said, this child, blood of my blood, bone of my bone, because she was my niece, my grandniece. And what I said was imploring Kali to bring to light anyone that puts the child in danger, bring their actions to light for law enforcement to see that they are successfully charged and prosecuted, and that they are never allowed to harm that child again or to put that child in jeopardy of any kind through their actions. I did not direct it at the child's father, even though I knew what he was doing. I left it up to Kali to direct that energy to anyone and to bring them to justice in a manner that she saw fit. Within 3 weeks, the child's father was charged with his 5th driving under the influence in the state where they lived. That is automatic jail sentence. It's a felony and carries with it steep fines and a minimum of 5 years in jail or prison. Now, with time off for good behavior, that would be about 30 months. The child's mother was also arrested for a DUI because she's an alcoholic. She was driving drunk with a child in the car. That was her 2nd DUI within 10 years. She also had to face charges, be fined, be on probation, because she could have lost her nursing license with that conviction. And if she behaved, it would be null prost. In other words, it would be stricken from her record. The charge would be there, but the conviction would be null prost. She also had to pay a lot of money to have a blow and go installed in her car and to pay for the monthly service. It was not cheap. The father he actually served 22 months in Coffeewood, which is a state prison in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He stayed clean for several years. He and my niece reconciled. She had divorced him while he was incarcerated. And then he continued to use. He eventually became very belligerent and violent with the child. He ended up passing away from a heroin overdose. Do I feel guilty about the justice that was meted out to that individual? No. I left it up to the universe. I did not specify exactly what I wanted them to be charged with or anything else. I also specified that this spell would protect this child until she returned to the pool of souls and the Great Mother had her back in her arms. Now, I sealed this request to Kali because she is a dark goddess. She is a warrior goddess. I sealed the spell with my own blood. I put 2 drops of my own blood with a, lancet that you use to do glucose testing. And I sealed that spell that way. Most Wiccans will tell you that blood magic is absolutely black magic. I don't. I think that spell was what I call gray magic. Now, my karma, the threefold that came back on me, because in the process of doing the spell, I didn't ask Kali to protect me. And within I think about 3 months, I broke my tib fib and was in a wheelchair for 2 months. That was what the divine had for me. Do I regret doing that spell? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I want everyone to be very mindful of the spells that you do, the rituals that you do. Specificity is the key. Do not affect anyone's free will. If you are a witch that walks in the light, if you walk in the dark, you do whatever you do, you boo. But be prepared, because usually the universe gives you a kick in the head when you need it. I call it, getting witch slapped. I ask you to please be very specific in your spells. This comes with experience, but always seal your spells so that no one is harmed, you're not harmed, your pets aren't harmed, your family's not harmed, anyone that you love is not harmed in having your wishes manifest. So with that, there is no handout this week, but there is homework. So if you have any questions about magical ethics, you can hit me up on Twitter, DM me on Twitter. My Twitter is on the last slide. My handle on Twitter is The Witches Call 1. Not cauldron, but call, C-A-U-L, and the number 1. You can also email me at fyrewytch82@gmail.com. Now, I am horrible about reading and answering email. Give me a couple of days to get back to you if you send me an email. Usually on Twitter, unless I'm taking a social media break, I usually announce those breaks on my Twitter account. Usually Twitter, I get back to you within a couple of hours unless I'm asleep. With that, my friends, merry we did meet, merry we will part. Until we merry meet again, be well and walk in love and light, everybody.